kidding me?
I got a question from a friend of mine about what are these entities that are like shadow people, or when you're looking somewhere out of the corner of your eye, you see like a dark figure that's somewhat human shaped, and it's just there, either stalking you, just looking at you, or worse comes to it, asleep, minding your own business. You get a feeling you're being watched, so you wake up. Yeah, that does happen. So first off, right off the bat, these shadow entities, there's no definite answer to call them, because it can be a divine figure, it can be an ancestor, it can be an extraterrestrial, it could be something from a different plane, it could be a fae, it could be a not very nice energy. And there's just so many possibilities of what it could be that saying, well, that's just, just a dark entity. But sometimes it's not always a dark entity. It might be something that's just, I'm intrigued. You never know with them. But the thing with them is that, as with all astral beings, and it doesn't matter God, divine, fae, ancestor, I hate when people burn out like that. It's very rude. But anything that's on the astral side, divine, fae, ancestor, you name it on that side, it doesn't get to do what it wants and disrespect you. That's not, at least not, that's not how I do. So for an example, say you're just at home watching TV, minding your business, and then you see out of the corner of your eye, shadow figure. Okay. What do you want, shadow figure? Usually when you interact with them, because you don't know what they are, what their intent is, what they're going to do, they're very unpredictable. Ultimately, the best thing I can say in regards to interacting with them, just treat them as if they were a human being, just like with all the other astrals. If a person walked right in your house and then stood at the corner of the wall and just stared at you, wouldn't you just go, dude, why'd you just walk in my house, and why are you looking at me like that? Oh, don't tell me you're one of those spirits that likes to undress people with their eyes. Please don't do that. No. I don't even know how that's going to work. But having that demeanor of just, really, dude, why do you think you can just walk into my home and do what you please, and make me kind of be a little bit concerned about what makes you think you can just do that? Because on this plane, it's tied with the astral, the physical is tied with the astral, and because of that, you can just treat the astral being as if it was a human being. Same example, like I said, someone just walks into your house and then comes around the corner and just stares at you. I would go, why didn't you knock? Who are you? You might want to, get before, you get a foot in your tush. Because when people don't respect boundary, kind of give them a good hit upside the head. But same thing with the astral. Just because they're passed on, divine being, fae, they can't just being considerate and just waltz right in and be inconsiderate. No. And really, if a being thinks that it can just do that, you can, and you have the right to actually go ahead and say, no, out. I mean, like when you're interacting with a divine being or going towards a being, it's the same thing, but with the divine being that you're going towards for help, it's just like going up there and saying, you're going to help me with this. I'm going to do what? I don't even know you. See? It's the same thing. It's just that fair point of being considerate and, hospitable. Because if I was like a divine being and all of a sudden someone came towards me and said, you're going to help me do this. I'm probably going to help you. Let's try that again. But going back to the shadow people, now, like what I said about them, you don't know what they are or what their intent is. You have to be sure that you're really firm with yourself and have a lot of sense of self-assurance. Because if you're not strong enough, you can get overrun. Or if you don't have that sense of grounding and being unmovable. If you're somebody who is easily influenced or easily scared, probably best not to really go towards them because you just don't know if they're going to go towards you or come at you aggressive. But, like what I said, if you're confident and strong enough, if you go towards them and say, oh, what are you doing? Why are you in my house? And then just walk in without knocking, or, even being considerate. That is, what time of night here? Yeah. Get. Because usually when you start, putting your foot down and saying, no, you gotta get, things tend to get a little bit chaotic. And when things get chaotic, beings that are putting in resistance, usually this is, well, I don't like to be like the good, evil, like that paradigm. I'm just like, okay, if two sides don't like each other, well, that's cute. I want nothing to do with it. I'm neutral. I just want to worry about myself and make my life the best. And if you two want to throw spears at each other, have at it. But usually, I would have to say more on the left-handed side, that when you're putting, to get your space back in control, usually, some of the time, those are the ones that tend to get in your face and then they try and intimidate you. Or they try to strike fear into you so that way they can actually get in and then manipulate you. But you're strong. Here's a good example. A friend of mine had a friend and her boyfriend being harassed by this it was supposed to be a demonic entity. I didn't know who it was because I wasn't there. I was just telling them what to say to it. Because if it was a entity like that, it wouldn't have acted like how it did, which I'll explain. But pretty much what the whole dealio was, my friend's friend was expecting a child, and the supposed to be demon figure was wanting the child as part of a pact that was made. Okay? But also for some reason its wife, which it hates, was there too. So it was just a hot mess. So I'm talking to my friend and then they're saying, well, we don't know what to do. We're not sure what this thing is going to do. We're not sure what its wife's going to do because it looks, and it's acting a little bit shrewd. Well, right off the bat, again, you can do this with the shadow people too, or any kind of entity, whatnot. If you do not feel comfortable, or you do not fully 100% believe you know who you're interacting with, you can go to it and say, identify yourself. Who are you? And put them on the spot. In the case of this hot mess, pretty much I told him to go at it firmly and say, identify yourself. It responded with, well, I'm the great demon king Pazuzu. I am who I am, take it or leave it. And then I just told him to respond with, well, I mean, I don't know that. As far as I know, you might be some, flamboyant fairy. I don't know. Heck. But, I mean, if you're a demon king, wouldn't you want to just go, flaunt your crown and spin your scepter like, I have the status. I mean, that's what I would do if I was a king. Not be all like, I am who I am, take it. Someone's a little bit defensive about that. And then I asked them to ask it, okay, so this pact, what happened now? And then it responded with, well, his great-grandmother made a pact with me that I could have his kid. Okay? Regarding what? Like, what was this pact about? And as soon as I asked what it was about, it pretty much acted like, when children put their fingers in their ears and they just go, can't hear you, and go, ugh. And except it wasn't like, doing flips with his tongue. It was pretty much just saying, the pact sealed, the pact sealed, the pact sealed. And at her, and I saw that as the response. I'm like, okay. We're gonna just have to be, a little bit like a do it. So I told him to say this to him. One last question, Pazuzu. After this, I'll leave you be. I just want to know one last question. And he's still going like that, supposedly. I had them ask, so that pact, question. Does it say you could be in my house? The pact seat. No. Good, okay. As soon as it said like that, no. Yeah. Yeah, it knew it was in deep shit because when that pact was made, it didn't say anything about him or that being in that guy's house. So I just told him to say this. Tell the twat how to get. And how to get out. And really, if you're using your mental alchemy and your technicality with it, you can just bamboozle it out. Saying, well, it's not specified that you could actually be in this guy's house, so he actually has to say so. So the supposed Demon King went, even though I don't think that really was him. Because if it was, it probably would have been more, rather than like, I am that. Nope, I am that. Trickster spirits. But also, once the thing went out the door, I then was asked, well, what if the thing comes back? What if it follows me around or her around or goes after the kid or not in the house? Again, you just use the same thing. Just mind your own business, and then the Pazuzu wannabe just is all like, that kid looks good. The pack doesn't say you could actually be, you know, within a 10-mile radius of me. Skedaddle. Whoops. That's... When it comes to packs like that, if everything's not written out like that, you can just slither your way out of it. To the point where it's just so hilarious, it makes them go, oh. Yeah. But that same thing you can do with a shadow figure, but usually the shadow figures, they usually don't communicate, they just look at you and make you think, what, is there something on my face, or are you just infatuated to see me? But you can tell them the exact same thing. Identify yourself. If they don't identify themselves, say, okay, I don't care who you are invading my space, so off with you. If they don't leave, well, okay, we can just get a little bit more for them and say, ouch! Same thing if it was a human person. And you, when you're actually like going towards an entity to tell it to be firm with it, like saying, no, you're gonna get, and if it tries to linger, be like, no, we're not gonna be sitting here thinking that, you know, you're like trying to be a part of the family, because no, I wouldn't want you. Out. Yeah, you gotta like, no, like keep directing it and being like, oh no, you're going out the door. And you just gotta be persistent, immovable, and stern. It's just like the same thing if a human being came in. Someone is walking in your house and is being freaky deaky, well, ask them, okay, I didn't ask you to be in here. You weren't invited. You just waltzed in and you're thinking that it's cute to stare at somebody. You nasty. Please leave before I actually help you leave. No? No moving? Okay, yep. And if they try and resist, and be like, no, we do not do this in, you know, modern society. Just walk into somebody's home and think, oh, I can do what I want. No. Because if you do that in the modern world today, you're going to most likely be either shot, whacked with something, looked at like you're lost and need a good few hits upside the head to get the brain working. But some things you can also use when you're having your shenanigans with these lovely things, because not all shadow people, not all of them have a malicious intent. But when it comes to interacting with a being that you have no idea with, always assume it has a malicious intent, unless if it's proven itself, or you feel confident that it's not going to come at you. Selenite. This is actually a really good tool to actually be like, okay, you're gonna stop being negative and you're gonna skedaddle and take your nasty negative BS with you too, and not have it in my home. Just cleanse it away. And if you have to, even heck, if the entity is not leaving, okay, well, track it down, find it, and be like, oh, I found you. Start sticking it with this. Start sticking where the energy's at. Just like, okay, come on, cattle prod, get. Ain't got time for, you know, dealing with negative BS. You can also use a protection oil mix, and usually you should actually have this on hand, close to you, whenever you feel that something's not right, or even when you're combating anything at all, because having protection is a must. Another thing you could also use is, like if you work with an astral being, like a divine figure, in my case it would be hell, and all I can say is the many times that I had a bit of like some not so considerate beings thinking, oh, I'm just going to come into this guy's room and make a hot mess. Well, that didn't last long. And I didn't know that I could have a jet plane take off in my room because of the sound when she screamed, saying, oh, really now? You can also burn incense like sage. I just had it and I just was about to say it and I lost it. Palo Santo, you can use Palo Santo too. Cedar wood, frankincense, oak bowl, peppermint. Nothing says get like cool. You could also use lemon and lemongrass and vinegar, like to distill. Or if you want to say, you know what, not being nice, but bear in mind, you got to be careful with this one. You can use camphor, or as I like to call it, the big major cleansing nuke. Well, that got everything out of there. But when you're actually combating a negative entity, there is some debate on why you should have the windows open or have them closed. Well, for me, I'd rather have them closed. Because if you have the windows open, what the entity's going to do is be like, oh, I don't like it in here. Out it goes. And as soon as the cleansing is done, comes back in. That's why I'd rather do it this way. I'll keep everything closed. Because that entity is going to go, I can't breathe. It's too positive in here. It's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker until it kicks the bucket. You can also use a pendulum if you want to interact with it. I mean, there's so many ways you can actually go about it. But as for me, to keep it the simple way, go towards it like it was an everyday person and just talk to it. If you're confident with it, just be like, oh, what makes you think you can just walk into my house and just stare at me, creeper? Yeah, dude, it was cute. It was cute the first 2 seconds, but now it's getting, you better not be doing what I think you're doing with those eyes. You sick, nasty. Well, peep show's over. Get. Oh, you're not gonna get? Well, okay. Well, then we'll just take one of these, and then we'll just start. How about now? Oh, that got you some pep in the step, and just prick it on the way out. But always ensure that you're really grounded and immovable, and you can't be influenced. Because if you're fixated so strong, and if anything comes at you, it's going to be like, yeah. It can be intimidating at first, but once you get it, it's just like, oh, okay. Oh, you're trying to manipulate me. Hands off. You can't touch. You cannot touch this merchandise because the minute you touch it, you're gonna have to pay to fix it. And pretty much, really, that's really all I can think about when combating like a shadow entity or something just sitting there, just like, I think you're pretty. I think you're doing the creepy deepy. I think you should get a outie. No? Maybe just spirit. But other than that, that's really all I can think about this topic. And if there's any other questions about it, I guess you can comment it below. I can't really think of much else, but just for me, again, it's just telling it like if it was a person. What are you doing? No, let's not do that. Let's get out of here. And if you want to come in, let's try knocking again. No.